now welcoming our last project of the night, Essengo by Chris.
So hello everybody, my name is Christian Vroef. Someone might know me as a teacher, somebody might know me as a lab researcher. I was actually hoping somebody would recognize me here today from my origins, which is the Aave crab market here in Amsterdam. Enjoy my life, eat my chicken? I put so much effort into that. Okay, whatever. So, but all of this has brought me here today to this moment to present you this idea. Essengo, which means joy or happy in Swahili. And I have a question to start you off with. Slide. Right? And how does local marketplaces look in the digital future? Because I see the rise of large multi-marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, and they kind of eat all the small players in the supply chain, don't they? And I thought that was quite unfair. And, well, as a supply chain researcher, you start to look into the dynamics of that, and maybe you can change that. So, I thought to change that too. To bring you into this mindset, let me give you a lesson from my father of marketplaces, right? These are games that you play repeatedly. So, let's have a look at the game of the farmer right now. Right? So, as I see it right now, if I'm farming, right, if I'm a farmer, or if I'm into agriculture at all, it's an extremely risky business because everybody is basically walking around blind. We have no idea what the market wants, we have no idea what's good for it, we don't know where our products come from, we don't know how they're made, and we don't know who we can trust. As a result, what should I do with my farm? I don't know, gamble, as my father would say. Besides from that, the entire system apparently is set up in such a way that it is very advantageous for me to screw you, to be dishonorable with my agreements, to not tell you who my partners are, to not tell you where my sources are, or how I make it. At the moment, how the game is structured, it's a race to the bottom. The way that supply chain dynamics work, it basically eliminates the weakest partner. But because we don't have any transparency in it, what actually happens is that the supply chain eats itself. And you get horrible things happening at the bottom that the top doesn't have any clue about. Basically, the whole proposition is a very, very risky business. And if I was a bank or an investor or anybody in a player in this, I would not go for it. The economics don't make any sense. So if we're talking about sustainability or growth and stuff like that and tackling the CO2 problem, how about we first look at the farming dynamics game, if that makes sense, try to improve that, and then we can talk about additional stuff. So what I want to change it to is the right side. No. Yeah, hello, thank you very much. Through new cool technologies that we're going to combine together, I want to give a feedback loop in supply chains, because at the moment we're doing it pretty blindly. So I want to share information. However, if you know anything about supply chain, doing that, everybody says it, nobody does it. Why? Because the game is against me. I want to screw you over because I can take your business. So I need to have a different reason to not screw you over. And this is where the awesomeness of blockchain comes into. We can make a trust record. Now, another problems come in when you bring in these cool kind of things, and that in combination with supply chain, and that's a rule in supply chain. If I have a hurdle and you're it, I will eliminate you if I can. So any pricing or stuff like that, if I can walk around it, or legal rules, if I can walk around it and get away with it, I should. It makes sense. So I want to change that. I want to change that with Essengo. I basically want to change the risk and reward dynamics of it, make it easier for all players. All right, next slide. Now we can do that. Yeah. So I actually know that, and I encountered a couple of new guys from the RB. These guys didn't obviously listen to me or ever met me before. They did the risky thing. They went to the Democratic Republic of Congos and they actually started a farm. They encountered all of the problems that we know that they would encounter and stuff like that. They basically make a very risky venture. They're still alive. At least the company is still alive, but it still hasn't made a profit. But basically, they're encountering all of these problems. I have time, so next.
36 seconds.
Really? Okay. So, it's a two-part solution. One is a neutral identity system to enable peer-to-peer trading, which is not owned by anybody, basically owned by the user itself. The second one is a neutral marketplace. And we base this on a very unique new technology. Basically, it's an ideation of blockchain. Next. Hi. Where we do one thing, we move centralization. I picked this specifically for you, right? So we have, I'm moving centralization aspects to a peer-to-peer on fund basis. Done. Go ahead, Rosny. I'm good.
I feel like we didn't really get to what
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yes. Sorry.
Do you still want to?
Tell us what you do. What?
Yeah. In 3 sentences, what do
In,
you do?
in 3 sentences, we are trying to make the game around farming fair for all parties involved by lowering the risk, creating a trust layer between them that is truly neutral.
What's the part?
How do you do that?
A two-part solution. One is a Essengo ID. This is a new innovation on blockchain where we basically store all of the information on the origin phone itself, and the network is only there to facilitate movement, as it were, not locking users in any system. It's also a neutral system that works on its own, so it doesn't need a blockchain to run. That's the whole point. And the second part is this marketplace. And this marketplace is a separate initiative to be a neutral, local-to-local platform that is focused on a region. So instead of with Amazon where you have one platform to rule them all, this doesn't take into account all of the factors of supply chain, distance, quality, where you're sourcing it from, that kind of stuff. So you need local initiatives on the ground that are like clusters, that are not owned by anybody. That's the okay.
Okay, so
Yes.
You can go ahead.
sure. No, I think we probably all agree here. I think your pitch needs a bit more focus.
Yes.
Because if you come out of a 5-minute pitch and nobody knows what the use case is or what the solution is, that's a problem.
Thank you.
So I think that really does need to be improved a bit. I think maybe some of your earlier slides was a bit of a slight mischaracterization of the current state of farming, because it's not like farmers are completely blind. It's not like it's a total gamble. I think our farming expert in the crowd here somewhere.
The more south you go, the more of a gamble it becomes.
Right, but like there are things like farming futures, for instance, where farmers can lock in prices before they even start to sow their seeds. So I mean, these are examples where some of the things you claiming are problems are not necessarily as big of a problem as you're making it out to be in this presentation.
Maybe not in this presentation, but I have the data to back it up.
Okay.
So maybe let's go back to the farmers that went to Africa, right? The 3 guys.
Yeah.
So what problems did they face? One of the main problem that they faced.
Can you go back? Back. Yeah. These. So one of the coolest, referring to the other land plot things, they had the problem, first problem. The plot of land that they bought turned out to be a different plot of land. The workers that they hired turned out to be the wrong workers. Also, they had no assurances that it would actually show up. And sometimes people were paid in advance. And they
Sorry to interrupt. So let's go back to the first thing, the documentation, right? About the land.
Yeah.
So how do you solve for that? So how are you going to solve that they are going to buy the right land and they actually end up on the right land? How are you going to solve that with your application?
What we do is we kind of need to go back to the architecture side, but what we do is we separate the identity and the data object into 2 different things, where we only send the data object, so say for example the documentation, to another party, and the verification of this depends on what I can see about you in the past.
So how does it look like for an end user? So what is the difference between using your application and just going to Africa?
The difference is that if you were a trader on this, right, and I have no idea who you are, In a normal system, I would just have to trust the platform to kind of know if you're doing your thing. Here I get an entire record of all the things that you did in the past, not exactly what you did, but that you did it. This builds a reputation and also gives you a different incentive to do your business. Instead of saying, I'm going to screw you over for one time to make an extra buck, you wouldn't possibly want to risk your entire reputation on making that kind of mistake. And this is for all parts of the chain.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah. So it seems like the solution, though, like the problem that you're solving, is dependent upon everyone already using this system and signing into this reputation system. It's kind of like a chicken before the egg problem, isn't it?
Correct. This is why we start with the Essengo idea, and the marketplace is separate. And the Essengo idea is it's essential that it works for the company already on its own. So it doesn't need the blockchain solution in order to function.
Yeah, that's a good bridge over to my next question. Yeah,
Good.
why do you need a blockchain for this?
That's cool. When you take the blockchain out, you see exactly why. If you would try to do this without blockchain, I don't have a trust verification system to tell me who you are. Also, the automatic escrow is no longer possible.
How do you solve the problem of garbage in, garbage out?
That's a very interesting question. So this maybe long process, but okay. Your truth starts with yourself first, and then you build your reputation over time. I can't prevent you from garbage in, garbage out.
So is this like a web of trust type design? Or
It's a web of trust, but it's a truly distributed web of trust, not a decentralized web of trust. That's maybe the other.
That's a bit of a moot point, honestly. Because the thing is, these type of identity systems, if you also, it's an identity system essentially. Reputation system.
Yes, we use it.
Yeah. The problem is that you're running into a bunch of unsolved problems here, essentially. Like
Sure.
to create an identity system without some sort of centralized authority or oracle, as far as I'm concerned, is still an unsolved problem. To do that in a decentralized manner.
I don't know if I have the solution, but I think and I want to test it. So we have theory and testing, and that's all great. But
Because webs of trust are notoriously
it needs to get to the ground.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why we're starting. This is why I'm selecting these guys. These are a smallholder farmer that has the problems in the region that is actually there to grow from. To test it with them first.
Right.
So we're building it.
So
out.
just to be clear,
Yes.
the claim is specifically. I like to be specific. The
Yes.
claim is that your app will help them. Let's just stick with the first example here.
Excellent.
Get the right documentation and get the right buy the right land, because all the people involved are in this reputation system, and then based on that,
It makes it very easy for me to build my reputation.
it seems. I just don't understand how you get there in the first place.
We need to talk about it more. But this
Yeah.
is exactly why I'm here, because very academically talking, right? That's interesting, but I need to now crush it down. And I've already attempted many times, but this is still difficult.
Indeed, it's difficult. I think entrepreneurship is very difficult. I appreciate you coming up here. It takes courage to come up on stage and to present your idea and to essentially pitch. So good on you for that. Having said that, the critical feedback is of course what's already been said. Like, you really got to work on your pitch. You really got to practice, especially if you like stand up on stage and you know there's going to be a crowd. Like, it needs to be a lot clearer than this. Like, practice 100 times. Like, it has to be on point, because I still don't understand what you do, and I don't understand like why you even need a blockchain for this. I think there's no need, and I think for at this stage, like, you have this grand idea, but that's the killer of entrepreneurship. Like, you're not going to be able to handle like this entire, even this slide, all the stuff that's on it. Like, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, you're going to get overwhelmed. So I'd suggest like start with a very small problem first and try and solve for that. And if you can solve it without a blockchain, then solve it without a blockchain. Like, you don't need to shove blockchain in there. So like things like documentation, you said that reputation's unsolved, but it works really well on Amazon, right? Or it works really well on these other like
but then you get other
platforms.
problems.
Yeah, right. But it's like, let's say Amazon didn't start with a marketplace of everything, right?
Mhm.
So and that's what it looks like for you, right? Amazon started with just selling books, right, to a very small set of people,
Yes.
right? So the same thing here is like, my suggestion would be like really chunk it down to one core problem that you could actually go for, and then like do that, and then I think that will inform the rest of the product development for this, because it's that's why it's all over the place. That's why I don't understand it, because it's like there's too many things involved, but it's not focused enough. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I have to agree with David, of course. So if you see these three people there on the top, maybe it would also be a good idea to have them describe the problem they're facing, having set up the forum, so people in the audience and people you're pitching to understand the problem.
You're suggesting that I put movies in it?
No, maybe. Yeah, this is too short, I know, but maybe if you're going to pitch somewhere else, you can have these guys explain what they have been facing and why your application is the solution.
As a movie, instead of this slide.
Maybe, but you can also just
Yeah, they could be here, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but you're showing these guys, and I can see. So there's a problem, so that's good. You found that there's a problem and there's a need for a solution. But maybe also try. For many people, it's not clear what the actual problems they are facing in Africa and why they were setting up the whole business there.
Sure. Thank you.
So based on something that we saw earlier that you were talking about in regards to supply chain,
Mm-hmm.
what I think I've seen a lot of logistics companies try to address supply chain, some of which are trying to address it with blockchain, but I guess why have these farmers chosen to work with you? What is it that you're offering that no one else is offering?
Besides from the software that would work with this, I've ideated and played with the system dynamics for a very long time, and well, I've worked in many parts of the industry, so from different angles, and well, I'm hoping, and this is why I select these guys, because they're risk takers. Let's put it that way. I'm hoping that we have a new ideation. I started doing this because I thought, it needs to be done. And it kind of swallowed my own poison kind of thing. To stop lecturing about it and start doing it. So yeah, these guys. Sorry, I have to come back to your question. Sorry, say it again.
I wanted to know
I want to make sure I answer it.
why, because there are a lot of solutions out there, supposedly, for supply chain and logistics.
Yes, why me?
So why you?
I understand, I have found something out, and that is supply chain systems are an inherently distributed system. And what we accidentally try to do with all these new kind of cool solutions is that we actually creating centralization in a system that doesn't want to be centralized. As soon as you start to centralize supply chain, you get planned economy and all the horrors that come from that. So, and by creating channels where they can flow through that must be followed, you create these centralized solutions in it, and therefore what we're doing is trying to create a system that is truly distributed and truly sovereign, and therefore, hopefully, by solving the logistics problems, solve a lot of other problems down the line too. Did I answer your question correctly?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you.
And I think I would just like to commend what David said. I didn't think of this, but David was spot on when he said you're trying to do too much.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the problem here is like any one of these things, any of one of these 10 problems that you're solving, there's massive teams, entire projects, and hundreds of millions of dollars going into solving any one of these problems. And you're trying to do all of this at once. And I think that's unrealistic. So so I just want to echo that point. I think that makes a lot of sense. And also I did read your one-pager, which was 5 pages long. So I would highly recommend, if you can condense your one-pager into 1 page, I think that will also help you on stage here on the pitch to be able to condense these ideas down, really bring it down to the core of the idea.
You have exactly my problem. As an academics person, I go,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Say it in 2 sentences, Chris. Zook.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
I know. That's why I'm here. So thank you.
Good, thank you.
Yes, I hear.
More.
I see some hands.
Go ahead.
And
Yeah,
repeat the question for the video.
we have two questions.
Please.
One of them is sort of a question, but I sort of got that this is maybe for small farmers specifically, not for big farmers.
It can be used for big farmers, but it should be you know, like a grain of sand. You can make a sandcastle with it, but it should be.
Right. And this is particularly for, I'm guessing, also third world countries where you have a lot more of these problems. Because as someone who comes from a third world country, I know that all of these things that you mentioned are really complicated.
Yes.
But also, which is also a problem for you, you need to trust someone to make the documentation
Yes.
in the first place, and you
Yes.
need to trust someone to show up for work. And so the whole system relies on a base layer of trust. And I didn't understand how you're gonna tackle that issue, because if the guy says he's gonna show up, you still need to trust him. Even though he's in the system saying that he's gonna show up, you still need to trust the guy to show up.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And that's it's a difficult thing to solve, because in supply chain systems, if I want to be completely and brutally honest with you, transparency, as we say, right? This goes against my business case, because now you can look at my suppliers and think, hey, he's getting a better deal than I'm getting. I'm gonna snatch your customer, right? So I don't want to be totally honest with you as a supply chain company. So if I cannot be totally honest with you, how can you trust me?
Right.
And this is the key. It's not about transparency, it's about auditability. Can I check and verify what you're doing, if needed? How would I know if he is doing business correctly from the outside? I don't know. I have no idea. But if I can at least see, okay, he's doing a lot of business. This is all of the things that I don't know any of these people, but at least he's doing that. I can trust the machine to do math, right? And I can say a lot about data abstractly. So I can say something abstractly about the guys before I even engage with them. Now, in the engagement, because everything is so auditable and connected to each other, not transparent, but at least connected to each other, he's risking his entire reputation of being a good merchant with this one trade with you. So you see that now suddenly the dynamic actually changes, that I don't want all customers, I don't want to have every possible connection. I am actually more concerned if I actually want to trade with you.
It's sort of like Yelp, right?
It's similar, but Yelp is again a centralized controlled system where Yelp gets to say what goes on there. The thing here is, I had this epiphany on a really, really strange way, but I am a Dutch citizen. I don't want the government coming to my house all the time, right? But if something goes wrong, I definitely want the fire brigade to show up. So I'm held responsible within my neighborhood, kind of abstractly, right? Because if I start dumping trash in my backyard, right, they don't show up immediately, but people will say, hey, fix your shit, right? But I don't want them to come in my house. So there's an area of social responsibility, and there's an area of, no, this is my house, stay out, right? And the same dynamic happens in companies. And that's why, in my opinion, the solution is going to break it, because this solution doesn't take the assumption that everyone is going to be connected. This takes the assumption that if you want, you can put this in your system and make it very easy to do so, very easy to trade. And then the proposition becomes from, why would I be transparent, to why wouldn't I want to be auditable? Because I'm such a good guy, right? You could trust me. And now you have the ever-ledger diamond case.
On that note, thank you. Last question from the audience.
Thank you.
And I'm going to invite our judges to give their final grades. So we're wrapping up this night. So as you start crayoning your grades, one last question from the audience. Huh?
Go on.
All right. Then it's judging time.
If there's no questions, maybe I'll just take one question if you don't mind.
Yes.
Which is, So even though you need to be able to shorten your pitch and kind of bring it down to the essence of it, even after reading, the documentation provided, even after having more chance to explain it, as an investor, I have no idea what I'm investing in.
Yes.
Like, what are the token economics? What are the governance? What is the underlying technology? I don't.
Yes.
There's nothing I can really rate on here. So a lot of that information is still missing. So you both need to be able to condense and prioritize the important information for the context. So
very, very happy.
thank you.
Boven.
Are we ready to reveal?
Not really, but
Great. Thijs, go ahead.
I'll start.
okay, thank you. Honest.
Yeah, but it's the same reason as Justin was just saying. I'm rating here from an investor. I think the problem is clear to me. Like I'm also someone in the audience said there's an actual problem. So that is the highest rating of all scores I could give. I don't see the solution yet, but you keep on working on it. And I think the identification of a problem is one of the most important things in a startup.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you score the most points on, but all the other things are still has to be figured out.
Thank you, sir.
Aww.
That's all I got.
Oh, okay.
2, and it's solely for showing courage and effort. The idea, the pitch, I didn't like any of it. But entrepreneurship takes courage, right? So it's up to you what you do from here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to again echo David's point because he's full of good points tonight. It takes courage to stand up here and to submit yourself to criticism. And we had a little conversation as well at the bar, and I could definitely see you're a person open to being critiqued and then learning from that experience. So don't let it discourage you and just keep building and embrace it all. But I do have to give you a 2 for all of the reasons I mentioned.
Hey, at least you're all in agreement. Yes. There is consensus.
Yes.
We just launched our shop, so the rhythm slide. Thank you all so much for coming to our first edition of OtterTank. Thank you to our wonderful judges for researching, spending time with the projects and your time and sharing your valuable knowledge with everyone here and to everybody online and who will be watching this further. Ta-da! Our first grades, our first OtterTank alumni can walk ahead in their adventures as startups. David, you mentioned it, it's a hard world out there. I promised them that the market would be harsher than tonight, but at least they go home with feedback, with in-person and peer-to-peer connections, the footage that they can use, and I wish all the projects all the best. So, round of applause for all the projects that we're doing. A few announcements. We'll be resuming our normal crypto drinks last Wednesday of the month, next 25th of October, next door at Two Chefs. We have DeFi Boat happening in Istanbul. We'll be at Ethereum. I'll be speaking at Web3 Privacy about the Tornado Cash case and the latest updates. VanEck is joining us as of next month as a Meta sponsor. And till very soon. Oh, and the next OtterTank is 31st of January, so don't forget to apply. Thank you, everybody. It's a wrap. Enjoy the vlog.